Hello everyone, welcome back. So this is one of the last live streams that we're going to have this year, and we thought we'd do a bit of a look back on what's happened throughout 2020. So it's been a very odd year, as I imagine it has been for everyone, especially some of the things that we've had here. COVID was an interesting time. Obviously we had to lose a lot of volunteers, especially during the first lockdown here in the UK. We are starting to get back to what we would consider normal. But it's still a bit dodgy, and we're not entirely sure where things are going to go, so we shall see. So, Mr. Cowell, would you like to start off with a couple of your
I'd just like to say, actually, we're a bit late tonight because Laurie was too busy up at the hospital looking at a bat. So it would have been 7 o'clock, but Laurie was not on time, and I get very, very cross.
We came live 30 seconds after the timer did hit.
7 o'clock it was supposed to be, and that's what we should have done. So, censorship for Laurie, because there's going to be a lot of censorship of Laurie later on. And
this is basically going to turn into a roast of me.
Yeah.
I've already been warned of this. I'm now warning you of this. If you would like to comment on that or roast me yourself, post it in the comments.
I have actually loaded the tranquilizer rifle ready. So, you know, it's going to be one of those, it could be that Laurie's last ever live stream. If I get the dosage wrong in the tranquilizer rifle, it could all go heinously wrong. But there we are. It's getting near Christmas. I'm supposed to be doing, I do my bar humbug. So look, bar humbug, Simon, here we are.
Can I just say, I apologise for any of you that have been affected by the thumbnail for this live stream. It wasn't intended. It scares me too. You don't know what the thumbnail was.
I've no idea what the thumbnail was. I don't care.
I don't want to tell you.
No, well, you know, you won't be here much longer anyway, so that's the end of it, really. No, guys.
Is that a death threat or a work threat?
Both. It's in the contract, Laurie. It is in the contract. Laurie's contract is 5,000 pages long. I'm still writing it as we speak, so I keep checking. No, you can't see it. It's there. It's in a micro dot on the end of his piece of paper, which is blank. But if he can't see it, that's not my problem. It has been a busy year. It's been an interesting year. It's been a difficult year. It's been the annus horribilis cuvicticus, hasn't it, really? But, you know, I put out an email to all the volunteers and staff today. They've been stunning. I mean, they have all been absolutely stunning, led by that little person, Alice, who's got a very big voice. And when it gets busy, her voice gets higher and higher. So as the years gone by, her voice has got higher and louder. But she was on to COVID before. We didn't falter for not even a microsecond when we went into COVID. So all credit to everyone who's done double shifts. They've done more rescues than they normally do. It's just been every single hand to the wheel, and they just left me sitting at my desk dribbling a bit. So that's what it happens nowadays. That's how life is. But no, it's been a fun year. Wildlife rescues are always difficult, but that's what rocks my boat. I love doing the rescues, and we've had quite a few of those. Laurie's got a whole list of them down here, so I will fall asleep within about the next 5 minutes. So do you want to start with one of them, Laurie, and we'll kick off from that?
So before we go through that, we've just put together a little video just as a bit of a summary of some of the things that we've been up to over this year, and of course a thank you to you guys as always for your support. So here we go.
Well, there's a huge thank you across the screen. Laurie does look very silly. Laurie wanted a Christmas hat. He got really sulky because I wouldn't give him my Christmas hat.
This is because we've just had a very kind donation of €5 from Ray the FPS gamer. He's put, come on guys, let's get Laurie a Santa hat as well. Unfortunately, we've only got the one, so the only other thing that was lying around is Simon's top hat, which, as you may be able to see, is a little too large. I can't hear anything. And if I actually look at the camera, you can't actually see my eyes.
Sadly, I can. Sadly, I can. But no, you can see from that it's been a busy year, and I mean, all these rescues we do, all the animals we save, everything we do, is thanks to everybody who supports us. I mean, donations, however small, however big, allow us to do what we love doing. So it's a pretty good job, really. I whinge about it an awful lot, but you know, it was so fun. I mean, rescues are what I really love. Laurie has come on far too fast, but not that fast. We will hit that a bit more later on. Yeah, so loads going on. What next year we'll bring, I've no idea, but going back over recent things, you've seen the sort of collage of rescues and things that we did earlier on, was the burnt owl. We had a burnt owl in, Laurie, didn't we? We
did, yeah. So that's one of the more recent patients that we've seen here. So for those of you that follow us on as social media channels, Facebook, Instagram and anything like that, you might have seen this owl already. So it arrived here after being rescued by the guys from East Sussex RAS, the Wildlife Rescue and Ambulance Service, another wildlife organisation over in the Sussex area.
How much have you had to drink tonight, Laurie? It really worries me. It worries me that you...
I'd be probably more intelligible than if I had had a drink than if I hadn't, to be honest. I tend to get slightly more...
There. Yeah, I think that whole sentence has gone very weird. Yeah, I think, Laurie, quit while the going's good.
I'm from the north.
Let's talk about the owl. Let's talk about the owl with the poor burnt wings.
So it arrived originally in this state. It had fallen down a chimney, and unfortunately the fire was still alight. It was just embers, luckily, but it had caused huge damage to the primaries and the secondaries on the wing. Rescued by the RAS guys, they transferred it over to us because Maru, our vet, has an awful lot of experience with imping owls. That was done over the weekend, and this is what the owl looks like now. A lot better. So for those of you who don't know what imping is when you take the feathers from a donor wing, in this case an owl that unfortunately was deceased. You clip those at very specific heights and you insert them into the existing feather shafts of the bird that you're trying to help. And through that, it's all glued in. You can make sure that the bird can go back to the wild within literally just a few days from the operation. Whereas if you were to wait until the feathers molted, you could be waiting months to even a year before that animal is ready to go back to the wild. And the stress of wild animals in captivity makes that an option that we really don't want to go down. So it's a fantastic operation. That owl has now gone back with the RAS guys, and we are told he's gone back to the wild. We're awaiting the footage at the moment, but we did film the whole thing and we will get that out very, very soon. So for those of you who are interested in that, that is coming soon.
If Laurie's speech still continues on this vein, I think I might start to imp his lips.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long life, Laurie, really, especially when you're my age. So, okay, so burnt owl. We had our November ducklings, didn't we? November ducklings.
We did.
Last year we had ducklings in December, I seem to remember. So we could still get some more yet. And they seem to be, because the winters are so mild now, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we get them right through even into January. It's ridiculous. But they came in, they're only about a day old. Mum wasn't very well at all. And we had to separate Mum out from the babies. The babies went up to one of our IC units and were under heat. And they've done very well. I don't know whether Laurie's got pictures he's going to show you. He's probably got so much whiskey in that he doesn't know what he's doing, but never mind. Yeah, I know it's got whiskey in it. Yeah, I can do that, Laurie, as well. I do it regularly.
It's even the sugar-free one.
It's just a can of Coke, but it's actually all whiskey. That's what he's like at Christmas time. Laurie in December, nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
I very rarely drink.
The ducklings did well. They are now, what, 10 weeks old, something like that?
They are, yeah. It's been quite a while.
Are they on any of our CCTV cameras or not? Any of our webcams?
They are. They're on our webcam.
Okay, so do look at the webcams, guys. Hopefully next year, we're going to have 8 webcams up. One of them is going to be continually trained on Laurie and Abby, just to make sure I can make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Nobody
not
wants
just chatting,
to see.
which is what they do. But so Mum, sadly, we did try to put the babies back with Mum after about a week, but sadly Mum didn't want them back. We introduced one or two. She was sort of all right, a bit neutral when we put them back together, but then she started pecking at them, which is a sure sign she doesn't care anymore.
You can see that in the video, actually. You can see the moment where the decision is made.
Yeah, we decided to pull them back out. So the nice thing, in a way, of taking all of them and keeping them until release is they'll all make it. In the wild, probably she'd only get one or two of her brood back to the wild because, you know, herons, fish, all sorts of things predate them. So, but they're all fine. They will be going back probably within the next 6 or 7 weeks if the weather's right for them. If it's not, then we'll keep them longer. So that was a successful story for us. Mum went back to her original pond about a week later and was very happy. She was quacking away, and we left her in peace. So she's probably got some more babies by now. You know what these ducks are like. You can't trust them, especially in December.
Ferranti has just asked on YouTube, will the imping hold in the wild? Yes, it will. So it's using a special glue, and there's a sort of wooden skewer in between the two halves of the feathers, and it will hold completely fine. It will fly perfectly, and as and when the next molt comes around, the actual main feather shaft will drop out, as with any molt, and a new feather will grow in its place. So come this time in a year, you wouldn't even know. All those feathers will have been molted. The purpose of imping is to get an animal back to the wild much sooner than it would be if you were to wait for the molt. And as Simon said earlier, you can do it in a matter of days rather than a matter of months.
And we do actually test them. We test fly them quite solidly before we let them go back out to the wild to make sure the imp has held and the new wing feathers are in place. And she was absolutely fine. So she is now flying free in Sussex, I presume, something like that.
Yes.
What else have we had?
I'm hoping so.
Now we've had some unusual birds.
An awful lot of unusual birds. So here at the centre we get a lot of what we call our main staple animals. So things like foxes, badgers, the stuff you've seen an awful lot of. But every year we also get a couple of species that are a little more unusual. Certainly not something that we only see once every couple of years, but certainly something that isn't what we would think of as common. So the first one is this little guy. This little guy is a young great-crested grebe, called Cheapster by a lot of the volunteers because he was very noisy, but he's now doing really well. Has managed to go back out to the wild as well. And then this guy. Now this guy Simon's going to giggle over because he's a child. This is a shag, very similar to a cormorant, slightly darker, slightly smaller, found in slightly different areas. I had one of those this year as well. Beautiful bird. I absolutely love them. Eats an awful lot of fish though. An awful lot of fish. We've had a lot of other unusual garden birds as well. Things like siskins as well. Not one of the more common species that we treat. And crossbills. So this is a female crossbill. That beak is meant to be like that. We've had a lot of comments in the past from people thinking that that's an overgrown bill. That's actually part of the species that is meant to be like that. And then of course, one of my favourite little birds are wonderful Manx shearwaters, often called the puffins of the UK, or the penguins of the UK. Beautiful little things. I think we had 3 this year. They've now all gone back to the wild, heading off back to their migratory routes, and we're doing really well. So that's some of the more unusual bird species we've seen anyway.
I'm still sniggering over the word I shouldn't have sniggered over, because Laurie knew I was going to snigger, which is why he put that first
He's a child.
on and kept the images going, so I couldn't even snigger to camera. Yep. So I'm going to snigger now. So there we are.
I know him by now. It's terrifying.
And if you do get...
He's more of a child than anyone at the centre, and we take anyone over 18, so...
If you get some of these birds, especially cormorants, herons and other things, they've got that nasty little point on the end of the beak, and if that does catch you, actually, it really hurts. When I was in Florida many years ago, they had pelicans, which I absolutely love. Massive great beaks, and they were very docile animals, but one just caught me on the side of the hand with its beak, and it was like a razor, and actually I was bleeding like a stuck pig for many minutes. I had to keep covering my hand up because they're very sharp. So if you do, I mean, you shouldn't pick up a bird like that or a heron or anything like that if you don't know how to do it, but if you do happen to do it, just make sure that you don't let the beak get you, because it really is incredibly painful and can do a lot of damage. Can it not, Mr. Brayley?
Yes, it certainly can.
He says. Yes, Simon.
A couple of comments have actually come in. So Rowan has asked a couple of quite similar questions. So the first one is, which catchpole / grasper do we use? And the second one is, where do we buy all of our rescue kit? And I think the answer to that is either it's bought as and when we need it from various places, or a lot of it we make, to be honest.
Sometimes, Laurie, we buy this expensive kit and some of our volunteers break the kit, don't we? We won't look at Abby's husband, Adam, who came out on a rescue with us the other week.
I'm sorry, Adam.
We were trying to get a sparrowhawk up in a warehouse, and it was a nightmare rescue, absolute nightmare. And we spent hours. And these poles are great, but you can't bend them from side to side. You can do straight lifts.
They're made of carbon fibre.
They're
very light, but
strong,
very brittle.
Light, but brittle. So he just gave it a bit of a flick. And that was £100 out the window. So we buy our kit mainly from fishing shops. We make some of it as well, and we adapt a lot of it. I mean, these carbon fishing poles were never meant to do what we asked them to do, but they're adequate. We can go with the shorter ones, we can go up to 6 meters, which is pretty much the height of an average warehouse, and with the very long one we can actually get up to 11 meters. But obviously at the end of that it's very thin, you can't do much with it. You can just jiggle a bird off where you don't want it to be, so you can get it down to 6 meters where you can get it. But even at 6 meters, if people have seen us rescuing things thinking Laurie and I were very slow getting the nets into place, it's because they're so unstable up at that height that we've got to get them absolutely perfect before we dare try to bring them together to bring the bird down. So it's not because we're very slow, it's because the poles are really very flimsy at 6 meters.
Well, when you go, it can take literally a second for the power to work all the way up the pole to actually hit the net. It's an odd sort of preemptive strike, really, I suppose.
It works about the same speed as Laurie's brain, really. It's a bit slow.
Yeah,
a bit slow.
Yeah. Very slow.
But never mind. So that was
another one. I'll be the first to admit that. Just quickly, going back to that one, in terms of graspers, we use a whole load of different ones, some homemade, some not. The one thing that we do is most control poles, they're usually dog control poles, come with a lock, so that when you actually pull the lead, it locks in that position, and it's very difficult to actually undo it from there. We take all those off. A lot of the times that we're using them, we want full control over how tight that pole is. If it is slightly too tight, it can be slackened off really quickly. So we just make sure we remove all those locks from poles as well.
We need to feel what's going on, basically. Obviously, you know, everybody thinks graspers are very cruel and horrible things, but actually it's just like a collar and lead, providing you keep them at the right tension. And when we lift a fox up into a box, if you don't do it with a grasper, which only takes us probably 5 seconds, which is nothing, lift it up, put it in. By the time you've scruffed it, you've got it even more anxious, and you've got to get hold of it to keep it firm, and it could try and have a bite of you. It all takes time. I'd rather do it quickly and cleanly, and that's how we do it, and it's always worked. We've never had any problems with these things at all. You can make, I made one for Laurie, and he really was very ungrateful. He's an ungrateful little devil. I made a really good animal grasper out of
I've got it in my car. I still use it.
Broomstick, a bicycle, rubber handle on a bicycle, and it's just as good. I mean, I will use them just as quickly. Laurie doesn't like them because you can't release them immediately, but actually you just got to flick the wire back down the pole, and it is just as quick. I would use that very happily, and instead of spending over £100 on those things, I made that one for about £7.50. So if you want to know how to make one like that, I will give you a lesson to anybody who wants to know.
Right, Abby is just audibly gasped on to my right side, because there's been a number of donations coming in, which we'll get to in a second, but there's been one from a Mr. Adam Warner, who has donated a little bit of money. We'll get to that in a sec. And as part, happy Christmas, guys and girls, buy yourselves a new pole that works. And he has donated £150.
Oh, Adam, no, daft. You know, I was only saying it for a joke. Now Abby's going to be cross with me. She's not going to get a Christmas present. And actually, with your grasper, we were very clever, Laurie and I. We actually just took out one of the sections, which meant that this grasp which we had, which was 6 meters, is now only 5 meters. But it will do for many things. So please, you know, I will give you some of that money back, because I don't want Abby crying that she hasn't got a Christmas.
There was an audible gasp.
Good luck.
An audible gasp. She's so aghast. It's a wonder he didn't buy your grasper.
Yeah. There's furious texting going on. What the heck do you think you're doing?
What about my housekeeping? I'm doing no housekeeping this week. No, Adam, that was...
Lucius actually said in the the comments, I actually heard Abby gasp. So it was loud enough to be picked up on the microphone that's probably 3 meters from where Abby is.
That is a very generous gesture, and I thank you, but please don't give us any money for at least 10 weeks now to make some of that money back, because you know, it's a 5-meter pole and not a 6-meter pole, and it will be fine for the time being. The only thing we can't do is shut it down as we normally do with these poles, but it will be fine. And if we need another pole soon, we'll get you out on another rescue. We'll tell you you broke it, and then we get another pole out of it, and Nabby doesn't eat for another week. That suits me quite well.
Moving on. So several more donations have been coming in over the past couple of minutes, so thank you all so much. As we say every time, we're not a government organisation, we're not funded by any government grants or anything. We can only do what we do thanks to the generosity of people like you, so thank you so much. JJ Kusaf has donated $50 and has put, "This is for the Simon thumbnail, also for all the hard work by the staff and volunteers at Wildlife Aid. Thank you." Thank you very much.
That's very, very kind. You said to me as we went on air, Laurie, we've got lots of new people following us tonight.
We do.
So to all of you people, thank you for tuning in. I hope you stay tuning in, because this is a very, you know, it's a good way for us to earn money. I hope you get some entertainment out of it. We enjoy doing it, and you know, it's a way to also to show you how we do things, because I mean, if you watch enough of our videos, you would actually learn how to rescue exactly the same we do. Every rescue is slightly different, but the techniques and how we do it are pretty much the same. So you could become just as good as I am, though never as good as Laurie is.
I'm not even going to start that argument because I know where it's going to end up. Mirror the Scientist has given us £10 with a little thank you gift, so thank you very much to you. Miss Ninja Child, another £10. Wish I could give more. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you so much. Every little bit helps, and everything goes back to the animals. So thank you. I
can wag my set. For every £10, I'm going to waggle my bobble.
Nobody wants that.
Everybody wants my bobble. You asked Lucy
again.
Kelch.
Moving
She loved
on.
my bobble.
Lou Ann Stevens, I'm just going to keep going, has donated $50. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you very, very much. DRG Bone Collector / DRG Gaming has donated £4.99. Thank you very, very much. Sabah Hussein has donated £19.99. Has put, "Thank you for everything that you do. You really do make a difference and prove that there are very good people out there." That's really kind of you to say. Thank you very, very much. Of course, Adam Warner has donated, well, probably his marriage, but £150, so thank you very much.
£150?
150.
Oh, that's ridiculous, Adam. Now I will get into trouble. That's just crazy.
You are probably going to get killed by Abby later. There's fuming.
It's not my fault. Don't look at me. I didn't
It's always your fault. It's always your fault.
I know.
Irina Lutz has donated €10, has put, "Merry Christmas to you all, thank you very, very much." And Tarata has just donated, I believe that's 300 Japanese yen, so thank you very, very much. Abby's currently working that one out. It's always fun when we get a currency that we're not entirely sure about. So,
we should have a little
I believe that's
crib
Japanese
sheet.
yen.
We should have a crib sheet, shouldn't we, of all the different currencies, because I've no idea.
Oh, there's so many. There's so many.
There are so many.
Yeah. Anyway, so
and let's face it, world-wise now, Laurie, money's not worth anything wherever you are.
Well, certainly here in the UK.
It's all worth a lot less, and UK hasn't done very well at all. But we won't get into the politics of this, shall we? We'll stay well clear of that as well.
As I said before, moving swiftly on. So, we've had lots of bats this year. There's been a really heavy year for bats here. So, most of the bats we get are pipistrelle bats, which are one of the smaller species that we get in. There's a few subspecies of them, but we tend to get the common pipistrelles or soprano pipistrelles. We've actually found a few brown long-eared bats this year, and there's one literally being looked at up at the centre at the moment. So Sally, our vet, has brought one in from her other job at a domestic vet practice and is currently having a look at that one. So that one should be out on our social media very soon, and hopefully it's okay. It looked okay when I was up there earlier.
Laurie, if you looked at it, it doesn't stand a chance. If it's had the Laurie glare.
Right, I'm hiding you behind a bat now.
You should hide behind your top hat now, really. That's where you should hide.
Lots of hedgehogs as well. An awful lot of hedgehogs. So this time of year is very, very hedgehog heavy for us. We've had a lot of hedgehogs in very odd places this year. So other than the standard hedgehogs in netting and things like that, we had a hedgehog that was stuck in a humane rat trap, which if you've seen the video you will remember that one. So that one actually had to be cut out because the way the spines grow meant you couldn't pull it out backwards and you couldn't do anything else, so we had to actually cut that little guy out. and of course the hedgehog in one of these. Now I'm assured that that's a plastic fencing joint. I've never actually seen one, but it's now out of it. Sally actually managed to get that out without cutting it, and that one's now back to the wild as well. So an awful lot of hedgehogs in odd places this year. I'm sure you'd probably agree with that.
Yeah, hedgehogs do. I mean, we had the hedgehog in the garage door, which was a first for us, wasn't it? Was that last year, I think?
That was last year.
How it got in there, I have no idea. That was so bad and so stuck. It was in an area that was really half the size it could possibly have got into. We actually had to anaesthetise that so it went to sleep so we could actually pull it out.
That was difficult. That was.
But it was fun. All these rescues are quite exciting, and we do our best with them.
Also, we had a very interesting arrival in the form of these little guys. Now these are young polecats. It's not something that we usually see, certainly here at the centre. We're in slightly the wrong place. They tend to be more towards Scotland and that area. But we had, I believe, 2 of them that arrived as youngsters, doing really, really well. Went off to a dedicated rescue that has more experience with that particular species. But last time I heard, they were doing really well, and they are unbelievably cute. I think every single person at the centre went absolutely nuts when they came. I think that's something we don't usually see.
I think they were cheating us. I think they were small pine martins. I've always wanted a pine martin at the centre, and they are, but they do smell. I mean, polecats, ferrets, they've got a very, very strong smell. You won't forget it if you've ever smelt it. It's even stronger, really. Even stronger than Laurie's smell, and that's pretty mustardic.
That's the reason that we're in separate offices at the moment. He can't get within sort of 10 metres of me without passing out.
You can't be anywhere near
Abby's in a gas mask.
Yep. I could make a comment there, but I won't. Moving swiftly on, Laurie.
Hey, that's my line.
No, you're going to move it on now. You're going to get
we've also had an awful lot of young great spotted woodpeckers this year. So we get a few every year, but we had a huge number of them. So these tiny little things are actually great spotted woodpeckers, or will grow into them. And it was actually down to Naomi, our hospital coordinator, and Alana, one of our volunteers, who sort of kept them going and through and out the other side. And as far as I'm aware, out of every single one that came in, we only lost 1.
That's not bad. And at this point, I'm going to stop you right there because we should just say hi to Naomi, because she's had an operation on her heel, her ankle actually, and they've had to put some pins in it and some bars in it and all bits of metalwork. So she'll be off for a few more weeks yet. I spoke to her today. She's doing well. Sadly, she's not getting bored enough to walk into work, which is really very sad, and she's still in her big boot. But we did speak briefly today, and I said, if you're not back by the middle of January, we're going to fire you. No, I didn't really. We need her back. We need you back, Nay.
He's a charming man, isn't he?
I hope you're having a good time. So after that, what else we had?
Yeah, of course. We've had our regular patients as well. So, of course, we've got baby badgers, which are incredibly cute, and I know, however much you say it, they are definitely your favourite. As soon as they come in, nothing else matters. We've had loads of baby foxes as well, so this is one of our busiest years for foxes ever. Had a number of fox releases. They are all from this year, ranging from tiny little things that were brought into vets' practices as puppies, right the way up to more sort of recognisable mini furry orange things. A whole load of hedgehogs. So hedgehog season is at a slightly different time, but we've had an awful lot of young hedgehogs as well. They've been doing really, really well. Thank you as well to Viv and Angelo that do a lot of our hedgehog caring. That's been going really well, and at the moment we are quietly going through release after release after release, and a load of them are going back to the wild, which is wonderful. And of course, rabbits. So we get a lot of baby rabbits. We tend not to film too much of the baby rabbits, but we get an awful lot of them in. Huge thanks to the entire rabbit caring team. There is an awful lot of you, and I know if I start naming people I'll miss someone out, but thank you to every single one of you who's been able to get all of these little guys back to the wild.
One point, just stopping and going back a little bit, I made a note while you were talking because you went blithering on about all sorts of things.
I do.
And what we do with baby hedgehogs is obviously if they do come in this time of year and they reach 600 grams and the weather is going to be clement as opposed to inclement for several weeks afterwards, we do still sometimes release. Winters are changing hugely for us in the UK. We're not getting the cold snaps we used to get, and I suspect very soon, we won't even see snow down in the south of England. But hedgehogs are only released this time of year if they're right up to weight, and if we know that they're going back where there's a plentiful food supply and there's not going to be frost for some considerable days. So they need to find somewhere to hibernate and settle down before they go for their long sleep. So hedgehogs do come in. A lot of them stay in if they're under 600 grams, but some we do manage to just get back out to the wild a bit slippy quicky, so they can hibernate in the normal way.
Certainly one of the biggest characters on our social media this year has been this little guy. So this is a young blackbird, arrived to us having only just hatched from the egg. Now at that point they can be very, very difficult to keep going. They require a really delicate balance of nutrients that usually only the mother can give at that point. But amazingly, it did survive, was doing really well, was soon put with other blackbirds and has been released. So that one is back out to the wild. I know a few of you have been asking about that one. Is back in the wild and is doing really well, I hope.
That picture on the left looks really like you the day after you've been drinking the night before.
This is what I've got to work with. There are a number of comments saying, how do I cope with working here? The answer is he's in a completely different room.
He gives me a far harder time than I give him off camera. I do it on camera because I'm honest and open. Laurie, when nobody's looking, he kicks me, he hits me, he pushes me out of the way.
I'm in charge secretly. I just let him appear like it's doing.
Well, as to the comments recently on some of our rescues, it's now Laurie's the #1 rescuer and I'm the #2 rescuer. Out of interest, seriously, because it's quite interesting. When you came here, you didn't know an awful lot about rescuing. You've only been here and you're really rescuing with me for 2 years. And I always say two things. One is you've got to have a natural instinct for it, which Laurie obviously does have. But it's taken him 2 years to get up to my standard, to be honest. I mean, he can do. He did a rescue the other day of the fox cub on the roof, and it is. He said it's luck. It is luck,
but
it's luck because you know what you're doing. It's only luck. It's not just random luck. You knew that it was what it was going to do. You had a good idea, and you had the net in the right place. So yes, it's luck, but it's also an awful lot of skill, and it's a lot of feel. You've got to feel the animal. And some people are good at rescues. Majority, sadly, people aren't because they just blunder into it and rush around. I mean, on the rooftop fox, you know, I had a go at trying to catch it, and I was probably 5 minutes just going really quietly up to it to see if I could get it in the grass. But it didn't want to go in the grass. But instead of herring off because it was terrified, it just trotted off, and Laurie was waiting for it the other side. I'm very, very upset that it didn't take my keep net techniques. We do it on a lot of other animals, and I've never done it on a fox, and it would have been really great if it had gone down the keep net. We use keep nets a lot for catching animals because they think it's a nice safe tunnel. They can go into it and then you can put it down and you rescue them, mainly for birds. But it would be nice if we got that fox. So I'm very angry with Laurie. If he'd missed that catch, it would have gone back and gone down my keep net. I'm sure it would. But
can I just say, that was revenge for the fact that you caught my fox that was under the compactor.
Oh, that was easy.
Having crawled all the way down the end of that, the fact that you got that, this is revenge. Can I also say, Abby, can you please call the emergency services, because he's being nice to me, so there's definitely something wrong.
Yes,
it's going to get worse.
Need to get it checked.
Always it's like any job interview or anything when you're telling someone off, it's be nice, be nasty, be nice. So we haven't had the nasty
compliment
bit yet.
Sandwich.
Yeah, the nasty bit will come shortly.
I was warned before this that because of that fox on a roof rescue, I was going to get annihilated during this live stream.
I was terrified.
I mean, waited for that.
Of all the rescues this year, that has been my most terrifying, because I used to be, when I was farming in my younger days, I'd sort of go 100 foot up a silo, I'd do all sorts of things. Now I can't, I mean, if I go up to my roof to mend a tile or something, I'm terrified going up the ladder, and that's only about 20 feet. This one was 21 stories, and the rescuers before us sadly had got it in a right state, this fox. They'd be chasing it around, which you do not do on the roof of a building. We just went in really quietly, and I think from the time Laurie and I went up there, but you must bear in mind that it had already been stressed crazy by this other organisation. Laurie went up there, and I think you said it was 4 minutes from the time
4
we
minutes,
went up there.
32 seconds.
Okay, we had it in the cage and we brought it back down. So yeah, I think we know what we're doing. We try really hard to know what we're doing. My screen keeps going black, Laurie. I hope I shouldn't panic at that.
No, that's fine. I think it's
so that was a good rescue, but it was. I mean, I just sat in the bottom of that hoist on the way up and on the way down, and if I'd looked, I would have. I don't know. I would have just. It did my head in. I looked once or twice because I had to, because I was looking out to see what was going on. But yeah, heights don't do it for me anymore. Bit old, Laurie. I am getting a bit old and infirm. So
there were a few people asking if you're serious with your vertigo. Yes.
Yeah.
He can barely go to the top of a ladder. So 21 stories is one heck of a feat.
I don't like doing it. I have to use a lot of strength of will to get myself up there. When I went up the 21-story building, I was having to dig very deep to get the courage to go up there. That was a big thing for me, guys.
Yeah. So.
So what else are we doing? Surgeries. You want to talk about surgeries next?
Well, it's more that we've actually had an awful lot more surgery. So over the past couple of years, our vet team have been expanding slightly to enable to sort of add extra skills to what we can do here at the centre. So in addition to things like imping and things like that, which are more a sort of general veterinary skill, Maru's actually been specialising in orthopaedic procedures. So we've had an awful lot of those this year. So an orthopaedic surgery is anything on bone. So usually what we do is we'll align the bone, we'll put a pin down the middle, and we'll put a frame on the outside to hold everything in place. Very, very good. Done it quite a lot. You've seen a few of those on the channel and a few more over on our social media as well. But we've had an awful lot of success with that this year. Fox cubs, we did a grey lag goose's leg as well. We've done a lot of imping on little owls, buzzards. There's the tawny owl that's coming out very, very soon. So yeah, we've certainly been trying to diversify on that one.
I think we're very lucky, really, because I mean, over the years, you know, now after 40 years, we've got such a wealth of knowledge that we can call upon. We've got vets who specialise in orthopaedics, vets who specialise in ophthalmology, which is a big word for me on a Wednesday night. And you know, we've probably got 5 or 6 world-class vets. And when I say world-class, they are the experts in their field. We've got Neil Forbes, who deals with avians. We've got Claudia Hartley, who's a brilliant ophthalmic surgeon. And we did have, very sadly until the other day, we had John Lewis, who is probably the best wildlife veterinary surgeon in the world, specialised in anaesthesia. He's a great friend of mine and has been for at least 30 years. Sadly, he had a stroke a couple of weeks ago. I went to his funeral, I think yesterday. Gutted. He was 66, so younger than me. And he's gone. Very sad.
Yeah. So best wishes to obviously all of John's family as well. It's a huge loss to not only us here at the centre, but the entire wildlife and zoological industry. John's presence was felt with everyone. He didn't just work with us, he worked throughout, and you can see by the outpouring of support that was done just how much he gave to other people and how much we all relied on his incredible knowledge and his incredible passion. So thank you very much, John, and wherever you are now, best wishes. Yeah, I'm
only really pleased that you know, I think he was going to give us a bill next month and he died before he could give it to us, so you know, thanks, John. No mate, he was a star. So yeah, we went all over the world treating wildlife. The top world specialist in anaesthesia out in the field as well, which is pretty hard stuff to do. So he will be severely missed, severely missed. Move swiftly on, Laurie.
Yeah, so in terms of the rescues that we've been doing here, obviously we've done an awful lot of swan rescues as well. So an awful lot of juvenile swans this year.
Whose ugly face is that?
That is mine.
Oh, not
That's definitely my ugly face.
You're getting yourself in every single shot now, aren't you? He really is. He has to get his little face in everywhere. But with those eyes, it's pretty scary.
I do scare a lot of things. It's one of the reasons we do rescues together. Is Simon stands ready to catch it, and I just scare it towards him.
Yeah. He just looks at it and he runs towards me and goes, "Take me, Daddy, take me." So it's fine. Works for me.
Some of the more unusual ones we've dealt with, of course, was the peregrine falcon that was in the wall. So we originally got a call to a bird that had fallen down a chimney, and both Simon and I immediately assumed it would be a pigeon or an owl, because that's what we get 99.99999% of the time. And they said it was a peregrine falcon, and I'll be completely honest, neither of us believed it at the time. But we turned up, and yes, there was a very angry young peregrine falcon sat on the other side of that grate, and you had to chisel it out.
I did.
Remember that one?
I had to cut a little hole in it. The funny thing is, it was obviously previously rescued. So I chiseled out a hole I didn't think was going to be big enough, and I put the cage up against it. It came shooting out straight into the cage, so it wasn't even a hard one to catch. It's just thank heavens I'm out here. It just jumped out straight into the cage, which is really quite cool.
So that one actually came in with talon damage. It had worn down a lot of its talons. That was sent off to a specialist to enable those to regrow. Last time I heard, that was doing really well. We will check up on that one very soon, I think.
So other stuff going on, without going, stop, refresh it a little bit. We've just been entered along with a lot of other charities for an award which is Pause for Thought. I think the top prize is £12,000 and it sort of staggers down from there. The results for that will be coming out Friday, so we've got our fingers tight crossed I told Laurie to just hit the email send button a million times. Whether he has been, I've no idea, but hopefully we'll get something for them, so that'd be really exciting if we do. And the other big news for me, probably more than anybody else here, is the fact that we actually broke ground, I think that's the expression, isn't it, on 20 acres.
Yes.
With our new site, which we are hoping to move into, and when I die we will have to move into, actually broke down. It's taken us 6 years from the time we bought the site to now. We've spent hundreds and thousands of hours on paperwork, on forms, on permissions and everything else, and we broke ground this week. They're just there putting a strengthener over a culvert which runs between the two fields. So there's going 20 tons of concrete. So ground has been broken, work has been started, they're clearing the ditch, everything's going ever so well. If you know anybody, if you do know anyone, guys, who's either a corporate or a high net worth individual who might be interested in that project, give us a call. We'd love to speak to you, we'd love to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it, because it's going to be an incredible centre. Hopefully it'll be better than this for the simple fact it will be a bit bigger, so we can do more animal work, but we want to go heavily into education. Education is really important, and I think we need to show the next generation, you know, why it's so important to them, why they desperately need it, because our generation has been so bad at looking after this planet, which, I mean, we're only here courtesy of the planet, and we've just been abusing it. So this hopefully will be built. It won't look as pristine as that, I can assure you, but it will be an amazing centre. We're getting very excited, so we're starting the work now. We do not have anything like the amount of money to finish it, because it's going to be about £6.5 million, but at least we can get it started. And the first thing we needed to do was the wetlands, because they take the longest time to actually mature, and will look good wetlands, nice wetlands, so that can be maturing while we find some more money to build a bit more of it.
Can I just say, just quickly, we've been told by a number of people, we both keep referring it as 20 acres. That is actually
I did say the
wrong.
new centre. I did say the new centre.
It's called the WildlifeAid Centre. That's the proper name for it, the WildlifeAid Centre. We've been dealing with it for so long that old names that were nicknames have stuck. So it is the WildlifeAid Centre.
When we first started it, it was called 12 acres, because that's the only field we bought. Then we bought a 7-acre field, and it's now 20 acres. But it will become the new WildlifeAid Centre, hopefully in my lifetime, if people are very generous. But it's going to be a lot of generosity to make that happen. I've asked Laurie to donate half his salary for a year. That should cover it totally. But I'm not sure he will.
But I might be able to provide tea for one person.
Tea and cakes. Tea and cakes and scones.
Anyway, one of my personal favourite rescues this year was this one. So that's Maru, our vet, who, without thinking, dived into a very, very cold river to rescue a young gosling. So we were all there, and we were trying to do as much as we possibly could to avoid jumping into said freezing cold river. And Maru arrived, said, "Why don't you just jump in?" And before any of us knew, she was in the river and swimming towards the goose. Absolutely amazing rescue, that one. Very funny, and she got very wet on that one, but we did eventually get it.
You just felt guilty, didn't you? Because Laurie jumped in after us.
I jumped in because I felt I should.
So he jumped in. I just took one look at the water and looked at their face and thought, I'll just stand there, I'll just coordinate this rescue from the bank. It doesn't need any more of us in the water. It was freezing, guys, freezing. And Maru is only tiny, There's very little fat on her body at all to keep her warm.
Speaking of Maru as well, of course we had this guy. So this is a fallow deer. This is a rescue that we did quite recently. So that was with Maru as well. I know a lot of you have had comments about that one. So these guys, we usually deal with roe deer. Roe deer are one of the smallest species that we have in the UK. They're usually 20 to 25 kilos for a big stag. Fallow deer can weigh up to 80 kilos, so quite a lot more muscle, a lot more power, and I can safely say, hanging onto the antlers, you definitely feel like you're going for a ride, you're not in control. They will throw you so
very
quickly.
Careful. I mean, they can go up to 90, a big buck can go up to 90, a big stag can go up to 90, so yeah, really careful. And they're not trying to hurt you, to be honest, they're just trying to escape from you. But if those antlers whip past you, as I've had even with roe deer, they sort of can rip your clothes, rip your shirt. I've had an antler through there, I've had an antler through there. So yeah, you've got to be really careful. But Laurie did that one without me as well. He didn't tell me he was going, he just went.
You were in the middle of a meeting.
I was in the middle of a meeting, but yeah, I would have gone for that, Laurie. Meeting could have gone taken a jump, I would have gone for that rescue. But never mind, Laurie decided he wanted the glory. So
speaking of rescues that Simon wasn't on, of course we also had this fox that was in a house in Hyde Park in London. And I would just preface this by saying the fact that I called Simon for it, but he was asleep in bed and didn't answer the phone, which is why I went out to it. Luckily, it tried to escape down the back of that lovely beer fridge, was caught and was able to be released safely without actually the need to use the grasper.
Laurie has
no
turned
comments?
into I mean, the comments on YouTube recently about, you know, Laurie #1 rescuer, Simon's is #2.
That's definitely
we got to rescue the other day, and I got the kid out of the car thinking he'd help me carry the kit into rescue. He just walked off. I mean, he just walked off.
Okay.
I said, sorry, Laurie,
in my defence.
No, wait, I haven't finished. You wait. So I had all this kit. I had 2 armfuls of kit. I couldn't even carry it all. And I tried to go, I'm on my way, Laurie. I'll catch up, Laurie. I'll be all right. He'd gone, chatting to the owner. Oh, yes, my name's Laurie Brayley. I'm the senior rescuer at Wildlife Aid.
So what I was doing is I had gone upstairs with the owner of the house to take a look out of the window to see the fox on the roof. You are a child. You are a child. Okay, on the next floor, I had gone to see the fox that was on the roof, just to make sure it was all still there and everything was fine. You actually said, stay there, I'll go and get the kit. I stayed there, he then complained. Of course, we then went up the ladder. Simon went near to the fox, and the fox went, I'm not going anywhere near that face, and definitely hopped down and ran away completely unharmed, so we didn't even need to rescue it.
Now, this was the fox that we got called about. They've done the broom test. We do go out a lot of these rescues. I'm not knocking the people, but we go out a lot of these rescues. We have literally been out on several rescues where they ring you up and said it's got 4 broken legs. And you know, you go out and think, well, we've got to go to that one. And you get there and it stands up and runs off on all 4 legs. So you do get rescues like that. I mean, this thing, they said they'd done the broom test. It was just up there having a bit of a kip, having a bit of a sunbathe. It went to the edge of the roof, ran down a wisteria tree, which is obviously how he got up there in the first place, and vanished. So yeah, it's annoying for us, I suppose, because you know it's an hour out of our day. It's all the fuel, it's all the cost of getting there when we could have been on another rescue possibly, and we had to go. But you can't really blame the people. I wouldn't have wanted them to go and grab it themselves, so you have to be careful. But sometimes these animals just need a bit of time. I mean, Laurie went out the other night. Oh, sorry, Laurie went out the other night. Didn't call me again. He went out to a muntjac deer that was literally just up the road.
And you told me to go out to that. I did call you.
Okay, shut up and talk.
They need to know the truth.
So he went up the road. It was a muntjac. It was down. It had been there. We don't know how long. I said, Laurie, just leave it for an hour, because often these deer do take a bit of time to get themselves back together, and they just wander off. And Laurie did wait an hour. He went up there, thought, oh God, it hasn't moved. Went up to go and get it, and it trotted off quite happily by itself. So sometimes it does pay to wait. Everybody thinks, oh, it's every minute counts. Sometimes, in that scale of things, 1 hour is very, very little. Just give it time to settle down. Give it time to get itself back into its head space, and it will wander off. So, you know, when we say, oh, we'll come in an hour, it's not because we're being unhelpful or awkward or whatever. It's because sometimes animals need just a little bit of time to get themselves back together. And this muntjac trotted off quite happily. It was quite late at night, so the roads were clear. A lot of people have asked why we usually release our foxes at night, especially urban foxes. The answer is really quite obvious, is the roads are quieter at night. Foxes are more nocturnal than out in the daytime anyway, but especially in busy towns, there's going to be less cars on the roads after about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, so we tend to release at that time of night.
It is quite deceptive, because I know a few people have been thinking that we've been releasing them at, you know, middle of the night, sort of 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's not the case. It's just the fact it gets dark so quickly here. We release a lot of them around sort of 7, 8, 9 o'clock, around that sort of area. Gives them long enough that they can sort of settle down, calm down from obviously the stress of the journey. They can find themselves back to where they were. They know their territory and can settle in before obviously then the night hits and they go about their night activities or curl up for the night, depending on the species.
Yeah, so it's all go here, isn't it? It's all go. And the other thing that happened this week, and Laurie will bring up the right picture. We'll see. Let's see if he brings up the picture before I say what I'm going to talk about. Let's see how good Laurie Brady is.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's this. I've given you the clue. Another thing that happened this week.
There's been a lot happening this week.
Okay. So he's not that good. I said he wasn't. He's not that good at rescues either, really. But we had our first delivery of hedgehog food for the year. So this food will take us through about the first half of their time here. So there is about 4 tons of hedgehog food. Believe it or not, they will go through probably 7 tons by the time we get to next spring. So they're all stored in a barn, ready for the hedgehog feast, really. What else can you say? So you think 7 tons of food will be used. If 7 tons of food go in, about 6 3/4 tons probably have to come out, which our volunteers have to put up with every day. I mean, hedgehogs, I've never known any animal poo for England like hedgehogs do. So they will be with us for about 150 days. They eat about anything from about 1/3 of a can of food each a night, and all that goes straight through and out the other end. So volunteers, again, I mean, all our volunteers are nuts anyway, and they're nuts in the nicest way. Because if somebody said to me, Simon, go and work for that lovely charity and clean out poo every day, I would say, no thank you very much. I'd rather break a pole and get 150 quid from Adam. But that didn't happen either. So, I mean, they are stunning. Our volunteers, this year particularly because of COVID, they've all doubled up, trebled up. They've gone out on, whether they used to go out on sort of 1 or 2 rescues a day, they've been going out on 3 or 4 or 5 rescues a day. So absolutely amazing work from our volunteers. And sadly this year we can't have a Christmas party. So that's saved me a fortune. I'm really glad we can't have a party, but I felt very guilty and I bought them all a sandwich. I thought that was quite generous, really.
Can I just say a quick shout out as well to the other members of our rescue team, people like Mike, Ron, Jürgen, Pat. You've all done so much recently. Certainly Mike has been going left, right and centre to various places, some an hour and a half from each other throughout the day. So thank you very much for you guys as well. Once again, none of this would be possible without your help. So
now, I personally didn't mention names then because I knew I'd miss one, and then the other, that person would get cross. So I purposely didn't do it. I did send Mr. Berwick a very nice text the other night when I just seen Fox Rescue there. Oh, thanks Mike for going. Fox Rescue here. Oh, thanks Mike for going. And I went, blimey Mike, you haven't stopped all day. And he hasn't. He'd been working all day. He did so many rescues that day. He's a good man. Good man. So what else we got? What do you want to talk about now?
We're just going to quickly go to a few of the questions. So there's been a whole load of questions that have come in over the past hour or so. So thank you so much for everyone that's given those. We'll try and get through as many as we can. So Mark has asked, how widespread are hedgehogs in the UK?
Pretty much totally. I mean, they're everywhere, apart from where you've got high populations of badgers, because they don't mix at all well together. Having said that, you do see hedgehogs and badgers together. But it's not ideal because the badger is the only predator of the hedgehog apart from man. So, but they're everywhere, to be honest. They are getting less and less in urban environments because of roads, because of poisoning, because of all the other things. And obviously in rural areas which is being encroached by houses, they're getting less there. I do think we'll see urban extinction within the next 10 years. But in the rural areas, they will still be there. We're not going to lose all the hedgehogs in the UK. But with the population decrease from 30 million to 1 million, since the 1950s, they need all the help they can get. They're one of our most endangered creatures, and they're most iconic and the most uncontroversial of all the animals got. They really are the most uncontroversial animal we've got as well. So we're doing our bit. Those 100 hedgehogs or whatever we take through this year, for every 100 hedgehogs we take through, having done the maths, we worked out that they could, if with a fair wind and not too many get killed, produce 35,000 hedgehogs in 10 years time. Obviously it'll be them and their children doing it and whatever, but that 100 hedgehogs could be the cause
100 of each gender, just to correct that.
No,
so 100 of each gender.
No,
it is. I checked with Helen.
We've checked with Helen, the person who worked it out.
Yeah, but it's 100, so it could be 50 and 50. It could be 100 males which go out and meet 100 females. No. Just think about that, guys. Think about that.
We've checked with the person that worked this out.
We are correct.
We will leave this argument here, but we've checked with the person that did that much working out to get to this figure.
Suppose we had all male hedgehogs one year. How do you get around that one? So they're producing.
Moving on to more questions. I can't believe that I'm still here. It's been nearly 5 years now. That's terrifying.
It seems like a lifetime to me, Mr. Daly. A lifetime.
Yeah. So we just had a question. Now, how do you feel when people criticise you when you euthanize an animal and they say that a sanctuary would be better? Bit of a deep one, that one.
It's a bit too deep for a quick answer. I mean, in essence, we have an ethos that we believe. We wouldn't do it if we didn't believe it, and if I wasn't comfortable with it, I wouldn't do it. I still believe that any wild animal should be in the wild and not in a cage for the rest of its life. I don't think that's right. And you know, if we did keep the other argument, I mean, you could argue this from both sides. I could stand on both sides of this fence and argue it quite coherently, I think. But the other thing, if we kept all the animals which couldn't be released, we'd actually run out of space as well. So there's all sorts of little nuances on this argument. I believe a wild animal should be in the wild. It should be doing everything it should do in the wild. It should be producing young, eating, running, doing whatever they do. And that's how the philosophy of this place works. Obviously all the volunteers believe in that philosophy or they wouldn't be here. So I don't feel badly. You know, I hope when the time comes and I'm useless, somebody euthanises me, because I don't want to be here when I'm useless either. Laurie's been trying to do it for the last 6 months. That's why he's taken over as #1 rescuer and made me #2. So there's more argument to come on this one later on.
This is going to continue.
Now just look at a few of the recent rescues, and there's one particular rescue where it was, oh, good old Laurie. Oh, don't need Simon anymore. Good old Laurie. He's as good as Simon was. The rooftop fox one. I read those comments. I was spitting blood by the time I finished reading.
He called me into the office. Look at this. Look at this. Look at these comments on this video.
How could you do this to me? Your mentor.
Yeah. Can I just say, we read basically every single comment that goes out on YouTube. So anything that you've posted, we've read, and he's probably reacted to, especially if it was about me, not him.
Absolutely.
On the same topic, actually, bit of a serious one, this one. So over the past couple of weeks, we have been getting a number of comments on several of our videos, wondering if the animals that we rescue are ones that we have planted in that space. So if we take an animal, we've stuck it in a tree, stuck it in a net or anything like that, and then we cut it out to put up on YouTube and get the views. No.
Well,
categorically,
no, we've done that.
Not.
We plant we plant the animals in a pot in the spring. They then grow during the summer. We release them all in the autumn and go and rescue them again. That's the most inane question we've ever had, actually. That is so... I can understand that
there's a background to this. So
at
at the moment, there is a bit of an issue on YouTube about certain channels that more likely recommend rescue domestics that do take the same dog, cat, put it in various situations, get it out and do it for views. And a lot of those animals are very badly treated, and that is something that certainly needs to be dealt with, and is certainly something that we are very, very much against. But for those of you who are questioning our integrity and our ethos with that, we've been running for more than 40 years. Please check out our website if you do want to see the history of the centre. We had a TV series, Wildlife SOS. You can see a lot of the exploits in that. That, certainly for the first series, wasn't even filmed by us at all, so we had no control over that one. Everything you see is how it is. We don't change it, we don't cut it, we don't do anything like that.
Be very
please
careful,
stop that.
Because this year we have actually released the same owl twice, haven't we? We have released
it was a different owl. It was a different owl.
No, I think it was the same owl. Basically, an owl went
into the bunker owl.
Went into a bunker. It was an old World War II bunker. How we got there, we still don't know, because they say the only access into this was through 2 huge tubes with big fans that dried the air into the bunker. And they said if it went through there, it would have been splashed to pieces. So anyway, we went and rescued it, got it out. And a few months later, I think probably it was the same owl, was in the bunker again. And then we went and rescued that one. And the next day, believe it or not, it was in the bunker again. But luckily, they shooed it out of the door. I bet it was the same owl. We don't know, because we don't ring our birds.
I don't think we
don't mark our birds.
I think the patterning's different from the footage that we've had.
Oh, okay, I haven't looked at the patterning, but yeah, it was quite. So we could be wrong. We could be lying on that. We have probably done a release with one animal twice, and we do get animals which are a bit silly.
Have before. We've had stuff come back. We had a fox that we released that came back after being tangled in a net a couple of weeks after the release, and still had the shave patch on its arm.
Yeah. I've been trying to release Laurie for 2 years, and he just won't go.
He says that, but I know if I make more than 10 metres in that direction, something in my ankle will go off and I'll be electrocuted or something like that.
Or you'll feel a little, I've got to be very careful, a little pain in your bottom. I could have said what I was going to say. And he'll just go down on the ground because the tranquilizer gun will have done its work, and he'll be unconscious and manacled to his desk when he gets back in the office. So yeah, I tried to release him.
Any of you who've seen us on the videos on the channel probably think we're completely different people. I apologise for this
no, we are nuts.
unedited view into the world of Wildlife Aid. We are insane.
to work with wildlife, you have to be insane. To work with any animal, as I say, don't work with children, don't work with animals, and certainly don't work with Laurie Brayley. I mean, there's just 3 things you just do not go near.
Right. Okay, if there's anyone watching that's from another wildlife rescue here in the UK, would you have a job opening? I'm more than happy to move over to any other centre. Please just say that you have a job and I'll be right there.
Don't leave me with him.
But for any of you who didn't hear that, that was "Don't leave me with him" from Abby over there.
Laurie, you're so replaceable, but we'll
yeah.
never have to even try because it's not going to happen. Anyway, let me crack on because we're over our time now, and I know you wanted to run on, but I'm not going to let you run on as much as you want to run on. Let's crack through. So the other thing, what have we got going on? Oh, here. What a mess. Why the wettest week of the year? We have a very limited period in the year when we can do refurbishment and mend things because it's the only time the centre's quiet enough. So we thought in December we'd redo our top ponds because the drains were too small, they were getting blocked, it was a nightmare. So they are up there at the moment digging channels, great deep channels to put bigger drains into our top ponds. Laurie might, if we were very lucky, show us a picture of that any second now. But it's like a quagmire up there, there's great piles of, that's the wrong picture to show the piles of soil. But there is one of the pictures.
That's the depth of the cuts that are going in, and that goes right the way from our ponds right the way down to the large pond as well.
You haven't got the outside picture, have you, with all the mud on it?
No, not that one. It's just the one there. I can put it in, but it will take me a couple of seconds.
You're just not that good, Laurie. You're just not that good. You failed me. Me. But no, it's too late now. They've gone. The moment's gone. There's a moment for everything on this planet. Just a moment when it's the right time. And then there's a lot of time when it's the wrong time. He's still trying to find it. Look, it's determination.
I'm not trying to find it. I'm just well aware that it's very, very, very large, and I have to shrink it down to get it in here. There you go.
I'm not going to say anything to that comment either, Laurie.
You're just a child.
It's so much. They dug it all by hand. They've had to dig trenches all the way across the garden. So those ponds will be hopefully renewed and much better next year. We're also putting a different side angle on the ponds because the animals were getting a bit hurt. And then next job, which again I know he hasn't got a picture for because he didn't put it up there, but the next job is to drain the big pond. Now the big pond has been there since about 2002. It was, when it was built, I think about 6.5 feet deep, and it's now so silted up and covered in muck and yuck that we're going to drain that this year as well because the ducks are swimming on it, haven't got much to do. There's fish in there as well. So we're going to drain that one down this winter. We've got about a month when we can do all this work. We've also got to dig up the ICU in the week between Christmas and New Year, which is a nightmare because we've got a rotten floorboard under the ICU. So all that's got to happen. So we get this tiny little corridor of when we can do stuff. So it's all manic. Everything's going on everywhere at the centre very quickly. As well, of course, as the new centre development. Let me say that very clearly and not say the word starting with 20.
The WildlifeAid Centre.
That's it. That's the one. That, as I say, will be going on for many years to come yet. But at least the wetlands should be done by next autumn. It depends whether they can get on the wetlands to dig them because it's so wet down there. It is a floodplain anyway. So this time of year, in fact, we dug a couple of test holes this week. We went down 2 meters, which is still 2 meters above the river level. And at 2 meters, the holes were filling up as fast as they got their bucket in to dig them out. So yeah. Big work down there. Watch this space. We will keep you posted with pictures and maybe the odd video too as to how it's progressing. But as I say, anybody wants to help with that, if you know any corporates who might be interested, if you know anybody who wins the lottery next week, we'll be ever so nice to them. But yeah, it'd really lovely to get that built before I finally pop my clogs, as they say. You're not supposed to smile when you say that. That was not nice.
More questions. So 90s Kid has just just discovered your channel today and subbed. Thank you very, very much. But of course, I've seen your program on TV for years. How did you end up making a YouTube channel? And greetings from Denmark.
Well, we made that because we did the TV series for 16 years. It's a lot of work actually, as much as you don't think it is. But I mean, you're not only doing the rescues, but you're having to slow everything down to a degree, because you've got to edit it and then you've got to get the camera crew with you, whatever. So it had run its life, to be honest, on TV. And we thought we still want the awareness. We want to show people what we do. So that's where the YouTube channel was born. It was born before you started, I think, Laurie, but it was
yeah,
tiny.
a long time.
Hardly did anything at all. And then Laurie built it and built it and built it, and it's where it is today. And it's sort of got just under 140 million views. We've got over 440,000 subscribers, and we've now got Patreon, haven't we? We've got Patreon too.
Yes.
So
Can I just say thank you to everyone that has joined us recently. We've had more than 13,000 subscribers this month. So thank you to everyone that's joined us recently. Hope you enjoy the channel, and please do interact with us. We are always in the comments. We try and reply to as many of them as we can. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments. We'll try and get to as many as we possibly can.
And you also email us if I would love to start doing the odd live call to people on these live chats. It'd be lovely to get just a couple of people ringing us up, talking to you on the phone, so it becomes a bit more like an interview, really. But if you're up for that, send an email to media@wildlifeaid.org.uk. Say what you'd like to ask, say who you are, give us a telephone number, obviously, where you're calling from, a bit of information, and we will pick the best one or two on our sessions, providing we can make it work. Whether it'll just be audio or video, we're not quite sure yet. Depends where Laurie gets his head around it all and whether it's possible. But yeah, it would be nice to do some live stuff. And to all the people who've joined us on Patreon, please spread the word about Patreon. We haven't got that many followers yet. It'd be lovely to get more. You will get some sort of little tidbits which the other people don't get to some degree. So being a Patreon member obviously financially helps us a huge amount, so that'd be great as well if we could build a big Patreon channel. If all our followers went from the normal YouTube to Patreon, we'd be incredibly happy, and that would be just brilliant. But so Patreon viewers will get a bit more. We'll hope to do a bit more with them as well as the time goes on, but we need to grow it. So if you can think about crossing over to Patreon, or think about telling your friends about Patreon, we would be indelibly grateful. And I know that's the wrong word, but I do use my malapropisms.
So in terms of what's over on Patreon, so it's not only we do regular wallpapers and other things like that, we also have a little behind the scenes of the setup that we have here for when we go live, talking you through the mess of wiring that is over here and how it's all linked up between the offices. And what has just gone live today is the first of our centre tours as well. So unfortunately it's me, so I apologise in advance for that one. But we go from just outside this building here, where I'm in at the moment, where our rescue car and all that is, right the way up through the centre, talking you through what the different buildings and different pens are used for. So if you've ever wanted to see a bit about what goes on up at the centre and where everything is, head over to Patreon. So I think it starts at £3 a month as a member on there, and have a look at that one. So, more questions. Vivi D has asked, have you ever rescued a domestic animal?
Yes, we rescued a dog the other day, didn't we? No, a dog was brought into us, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a stray dog the other day.
Stray dog, so we had to deal with that. We don't actually, we're not supposed to rescue domestic animals. We don't rescue domestic animals, and I thank God, because when we started the centre I was going to do both domestics and wild. Thank heavens we didn't, because I think we would have collapsed inside about 5 years. You just wouldn't have the space to do it all, you wouldn't have had the finance to do it all, so we stay with wildlife. But if something needs help, doesn't matter what it is, we do rescue it, and we do our very best for it. This dog went back off, we found the owner, we checked the microchip, we found the chap who bred it, and he came and got it all the way down from Warwickshire or somewhere quite obscure. So that was pretty good. Yeah, so domestics we do if we have to. If anybody needs help on any rescue, even if it's not something we normally do, we like to think we're quite good at what we do, and we would certainly help with any rescue that you had going on.
Yeah. A couple of people are asking, will we do a Funny Bits compilation video? Yes, it is in the works. It will be out before the end of the year, so watch this space on that one.
Now, in point of fact, nobody's asked for that, but Laurie's so keen to do it that he just made that question.
I'm not editing it, Sean's editing it.
He can put it on, and it will go out. So yeah, there will be a Funny Bits video. We can all see Laurie's funny bits. Get your laughing gear around that, guys. Worried about your funny bits, Laurie. Worried about your funny bits.
You're worried about getting old. I'm worried about you getting young.
That won't happen.
You're such a child.
Can't go backwards. Brain can go backwards. My brain's never got past 7 years old. My brain has stayed at 7, and it's very happy where it is.
Joanne Brown has asked, I know you've been attacked by swans, but have you ever been attacked by gulls? And it's not just because I'm dreaming about you being attacked by something.
I have been attacked by gulls. I've been attacked by crows. I think that's the most interesting one. We went to a person's garden where the crows were dive bombing the people, And we went in, and I knew exactly what it was. So the crows started dive bombing me, because about 5 feet away from me, just in a little garden border, was a young crow, obviously fledged a couple of days before. Like most corvids, they stay on the ground for at least 3 or 4 days, if not a week, before they fly, and the parents will protect them. So they're not attacking you, they're just protecting their young. So I walked up the garden, showed them what happened, and the minute I walked away from the baby, obviously the crows let me go. So, you know, we just explained to people that it's not trying to have a go at you, it's just trying to protect its young, as you would if your baby was in trouble. So that's, yes, I have been attacked by many things.
Me included. So comments from Facebook. So hello to everyone that's joining us over on Facebook. Sandra has asked, are ducks susceptible to this swine flu that's sweeping through the country?
You can answer that question, Laurie. I mean, I suspect they are, but I haven't done anything.
Yeah,
I think any
waterfowl.
any waterfowl can be susceptible to
I
it.
think it's the same with wildfowl as well,
Yeah,
but there
we
are a lot of restrictions in place around with the bird flu epidemic that's going on at the moment. We're obviously following all of the relevant government guidelines on
It
that
normally
one.
happens in only congested areas, which is why a lot of the bigger centres are really worried. We obviously monitor it, we watch it. We don't have to register because we don't take enough through, but we're very aware of it. We know what the symptoms are, and if we needed to say something, we would say it. But yeah, it's like all these diseases, you have to be very careful, very ready for something to go wrong, because if it's going to go wrong, it'll be Laurie's fault. Just blame Laurie. Works for me.
Janet Cooper has asked, Simon and Laurie are so skilled at rescues. Thank you, that's very kind of you. What would happen if they were both unavailable, e.g. ill or anything like that? Do we have other trained rescuers? Yes. So Simon and I are just two of a much, much larger team. A lot of them don't like appearing on video or anything like that, but we do have a lot many more members in our rescue team as well. It's not just us. We've got people who will just do collections, people who will do rescues, the whole 9 yards. So yes, it's not just us two.
Where's my friend Sven today? Sven is not here. Where is Sven?
Oh, I've just been informed Sven is in the chat. So hello,
Where
Sven.
did you go, Sven? We need you in the beginning, not at the end.
So speaking of Sven, going back to a couple more of the donations that we have had, there has been loads this evening, so thank you so much. It's been absolutely incredible. I'm scrolling back through to try and find when we got last. I apologise if you don't go to it. So Ali TK has donated £20, but I've been selling more handmade keyrings in aid of you guys, and they're getting popular. That's fantastic to hear. Thank you very much. Send us an email over to media@wildlifeaid.org.uk, and we'll see if we can try and promote those and promote you as well as a thank you.
We've done very well on adoptions and gifts this year, but it's very close to last post day, guys. So yes, we'd love you to order more, because I just want to see Alice's face. She comes in every morning pulling her hair out because she's got thousands of, that's an exaggeration, but hundreds of orders to fulfill, and the receptionist, the whole reception area is just a mass of boxes and packing. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. But
can I say our last postage date is tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
So if you did want anything, please make sure you get it in before tomorrow. That's the last day we can guarantee delivery before Christmas. So if you would like anything as a Christmas gift, head over to wildlifeaid.org.uk/shop and give Alice a heart attack when she comes in tomorrow.
The only other thing, we have got
guaranteed UK delivery.
We've got a very special gift which I personally am giving away this year, and if anybody has got I don't know what, £1 million, I will personally deliver Laurie. I will personally deliver him to you. You can have him for a whole day, and then you have to give him back again. So there you are.
I'm not sure what to make of this.
Personal delivery.
I would say this isn't in my contract, but it probably is.
It is.
Not read
it. It is. Well, Laurie, we're coming in. You know I'm going to start to push you now.
I am.
You've got 2 minutes, Laurie.
Has donated 200 Danish kroner and has put, thank you for your amazing work. Thank you so much. Ralach has donated 50 Danish kroner as well. But keep up your good work. Donations in Danish kroner, by the way, so £5 or so. Thank you very very much. That's very kind of you. Emma Asp has donated 100 Swedish krona and has put good work and Merry Christmas, and the same to you, thank you very much. Bill Milligan has donated £15 and has put waiting for them to come up with fox climbing proof scaffolding. if only. They find themselves in the most bizarre places. The video that's doing really well at the moment is the fox that was actually caught in the V of a tree. No idea how it managed to get in there. It could have gone left, it could have gone right, but no, it decided to go straight through the centre. So
and it was the only tree. It's a big, huge garden. It's not as though there were lots of trees.
It was huge.
There's one tree in the middle of a massive expanse of lawn. And where did the fox go? Straight in the V. Silly fox.
Yeah. Tracy Bullard has donated £20. Has put, doing this as a Christmas donation on behalf of my dear younger sister Vicky. Thank you very much. Hello to Vicky if you're watching as well. Thank you very much for your kindness.
I'm really sorry, Vicky, that you're not going to get a Christmas present from her, but there we are. It's come to us, so we're very grateful. Magrat67
donated £10. Has put, Merry Christmas, I love your videos and the work you do. Thank you very much, that's really, really kind of you. There's been a whole load of really, really nice comments in the chat tonight, so unfortunately we can't get through absolutely everyone, but thank you to every single one of you. We are just human beings, so that is very, very kind of you to say all of those lovely things.
We will of course check the comments, and if Laurie's had more nice comments than I have, he will not be here on the next live stream. We will keep him in a little box.
Post comment.
We'll keep him in a little box in the media suite and let him out afterwards. And Abby hasn't made a guest, but Abby's got to do a little quick heads in, hasn't she? Everybody loves to see Abby. I know she hates it, but everybody loves Abby far more than me and Laurie. Abby, just give us a tiny heads in for Christmas.
Oh, and she's actually coming as well.
And just say to Adam, it's all right, darling. I didn't need a Christmas present. Right, I think we should go now. That's a very good point. Abby closed us down nicely on that comment. We're going to say goodbye, Laurie, now, aren't we? Because Laurie will keep going for 3 hours if he gets the chance.
No, it's just we've had a whole load more donations in. Simon does unfortunately need to go on this one, but thank you to every single one of you that has donated to us this evening. Our work is only possible thanks to you. I'm sorry that we couldn't thank you in person, but we are truly incredibly appreciative. And the only reason we can keep doing what we do is because of your support. You are the reason this is going on, so thank you very much.
Absolutely, so fantastic. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Stay safe, which is obviously very important in these times. Don't mix with people if you don't have to, because we all want to have a good Christmas next year when hopefully it will have all gone away. Take care of yourselves. Laurie and I will be here on duty, as always, including Christmas Day and Boxing Day. But by Boxing Day evening, Laurie might be driving. I might not be able to drive anymore by then.
That happens a lot anyway.
I bought my Christmas present. I bought myself a bottle of Bacardi and a box of Coke. I'm quite happy for Christmas Day. I shall bar humbug it quite happily. So guys, thank you so much for all of you for following us. Stay with us. Got any questions, any suggestions, or you want to go on a live connect, which is what I'd love to do, maybe starting in 2021, please send us an email, media@wildlifeaid.org.uk. And there's one other thing I was going to say, which has now gone totally out of my head. Oh yeah, are we going to say that we might be back on the 30th, Laurie? We are. We're going to say, Laurie and I are going to have...
It'll be a shorter one, but we'll be back on the 30th as well, in 2 weeks' time. So this isn't the last one for the end of the year, but it's getting there very soon.
It's the big last one, and it'll just be a tiny little thank you on the 30th, when we're all recovering from our Christmas lunches and our Christmas dinners and our Yule logs and our Christmas cakes, and of course a little smattering of alcohol. Always goes a long, long way.
So guys, thank you to every single one of you, all of our volunteers and all of the staff that make this possible as well, that don't appear in any of the videos or any of the content. You are not aware of them. They don't get the amazing praise that you guys are very kindly giving to Simon and I this evening. So huge thank you to all of those as well, and thank you to you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
It's all gone black, but it's gone light. Goodbye.